Imagine a beautiful garden. Imagine the beautiful flowers, grounds, the colours, and the beautiful fruits that it produces. While this garden is stunning, has a beautiful and elegant ease to it, this garden didn't just happen. It had to be created, it had to be looked after, and it had to be cultivated and maintained. The right seeds had to be planted, and they had to be cared for in order to grow. This can be likened to the mind. The mind, just like the garden, can be maintained, or it can be allowed to run wild. Either way, it will bring forth results. If seeds of positive thoughts are planted and nurtured, they will grow into a healthy and beautiful harvest. However, if the garden, or the mind in this case, is left to chance, weeds will take root and will flourish instead, producing nothing of use and will be actually damaging to the positive thoughts simultaneously. Just as the gardener weeds, waters, and cares for their land, we must cultivate our mind. We must weed out all negative and unhelpful thoughts, whilst encouraging positive, true, and fruitful thoughts. Even good seeds, if not looked after, will be crowded out by the weeds. Being aware of how our thoughts are seeds that bring forth their physical equivalent, whether we are aware of this or not, is absolutely key. And this is a truly empowering idea once we understand this. James Allen shares with us some incredible wisdom in this book, and you won't ever think the same after you understand these ideas, all of which we're about to cover right now. This is a short summary of the book, As a Man Thinketh, by James Allen. Before we get into the video, if you could please smash that like button, as it really helps with the YouTube algorithm. These videos take a long time to make, and it really helps. We appreciate you. Please drop a comment below and let us know your thoughts of the book. And if you love books and growing in general, you're in the right place. Join the family and hit that subscribe button for more videos dedicated to your growth. Now let's get into the summary. Thoughts shape character. Thoughts shape character. Let's start with this poem. Thoughts in the mind determine your course, steer in your life, for better or worse. If you dwell on thoughts that are petty and unkind, pain will follow, as an ox's plough behind. If you dwell on thoughts that are noble and pure, joy will follow, as your own shadow sure. Allen explains how a person's growth is governed by a law, a universal truth. Just as cause and effect happens in the physical and material world, this also happens in the hidden realm of thoughts. This law is absolute and undeviating. As the flower or tree in the garden springs from and could not be without the seed, every act of a person stems from a hidden seed of thought, and could not have ever appeared without them. This applies to the actions that are spontaneous, as well as actions that are premeditated. These actions form our character, and they all have a rooted cause which comes from thought. Acting is the blossom of thoughts, and joy and suffering are the fruits. And this brings us to thoughts shape circumstance. Now we all know that character is simply a sum of our thoughts. We must also understand then that character manifests itself in our environment through our circumstances. Our actions, and in turn our circumstances, are connected to the seed and could not be without our thoughts. The tree's fruits are connected to and come from the seed. They are all connected. For example, you won't find an orange from an apple tree. And in the same way, you wouldn't find loving and favourable circumstances from jealous and envious thoughts. Our thoughts are extremely creative and powerful, and once we learn the connection between our thoughts and the fruits of our thoughts, we can become the authors of our own characters, resulting in us becoming the makers of our own destinies. Thoughts create character, which creates action, which creates habit, which then materializes itself into circumstance. Our outer conditions, character and circumstance of our lives are always a reflection of our inner state. Our thoughts don't just contribute to our character and circumstances though. Our thoughts also contribute greatly to our health and even appearance. Thoughts contributing to our health. Disease and health, just like circumstances, are rooted in thought. Sickly thoughts will express themselves through a sickly body. Equally, strong, pure, and happy thoughts build up the body with grace. The body is a servant of the mind. Out of clean thought breeds a healthy body. But thoughts of jealousy, envy, disappointment, these all rob the body of its health and its grace. Diet. A man can change his diet, but until he changes his thoughts, he will not be healthy. Changes of the diet won't help. Changes of thoughts will. In fact, when a person makes his thoughts pure, he no longer desires those foods. It all starts with thought. Let's talk about thoughts and aging gracefully. Alan shares with us an example of a 96-year-old woman who has the bright and innocent face of a young girl. And he also shares the example of a man in his middle age whose face is drawn into inharmonious contours. Have you ever seen someone who has a face of anger versus someone who looks like they've laughed their whole life? Have you ever seen someone who looks constantly concerned versus someone who looks like they've had a great ease in their later life? Well, you guessed it. This is entirely down to their thoughts over the years. This quote sums it up nicely. You cannot have a sweet and wholesome abode unless you admit air and sunshine freely into your rooms. So, if you want to keep that youthful vibrancy in your face, keep up that love, grace, and positivity in your thoughts. The power of purpose. Too often we allow our thoughts to drift aimlessly on the seas of life. When we have purpose, this powers them to a desired destination. Those who lack central purpose in their life always fall prey to worries, fears, and petty troubles, and end up stuck in self-pity. This may appear virtuous because they lack any obvious faults and make no great mistakes, but they take too long, finding route to failure and unhappiness just the same. Conceive a central purpose for your life and set out to accomplish it. This doesn't have to be complicated, but whatever it is, make sure it's the focal point of all your thoughts. Dedicate yourself to its realization. Thoughts become even more powerful when they're focused and concentrated. This naturally brings us in with the path to success. To achieve anything, from finance to successful relationships and to health and so on, we must lift our thoughts above greed, laziness, and self-indulgence. Successful people put off gratification. They create plans and execute those plans. They master their thoughts, and in turn, they master their character, habits, and then, of course, their circumstances. The higher you elevate your thoughts from your own good to the good of others or to the good of the whole, the greater your success will be. Although it may not seem it at times, the universe does not actually favour the greedy or the dishonest. In fact, forces seen and unseen rush to the humble, the honest, and the generous. Those who give much accomplish much. Those who give the most become the greatest. So let's make sure we align our thoughts with our purpose to achieve great success. Visions and ideals. The biggest dreams were once little seeds of imagination. As the oak awaits in the acorn, as the bird awaits in the egg, within the highest version of your soul is a waking angel that stirs. He who has a big vision and ideal will one day achieve it. Columbus cherished a vision of another world, and then he discovered it. Buddha imagined a spiritual world of beauty and perfect peace, and then he entered into it. Cherish your visions, cherish your ideals, for out of these will grow the delightful and desirable conditions. To desire is to obtain. To aspire is to achieve. In life, you will always gravitate to what you most love. Into your hands will be placed exactly the results of your own thoughts. You'll get nothing more and nothing less. Those unaware of the cause of your thoughts will only see the effects and will say, it must be luck, it must be chance. But they have no idea about the focused thought and the hardships and work that has gone behind these things and what has led to your desired outcome. But the enlightened and the wise know that everything that has been achieved has been birthed from the seed of thought and holding on to your visions and ideals. The strong and calm mind is always revered and will always be valued. Just as the shade-giving tree is valued in a thirsty land, the person with the calm, reliable presence will always be valued. It doesn't matter if it's stormy or sunny circumstances, you can always rely on a calm presence in your life. A person gains calmness when a person starts to understand themselves as a thought-evolved being and understands the link between cause and effect, the pure and undeviating link between the mental realms and the physical realms. The calmer the person, the more successful and the more influential the person. James tells us that calmness is to be more desired than gold. It's more valuable than money, as serenity leads to a serene life. James tells us that there are many people that ruin everything wonderful and beautiful in their lives because they have a lack of self-control or a temper, creating unfavourable circumstances and bad blood. Calmness is power, and calmness is evolved and is a wise state that is achieved through discipline of thought over time. So, to recap what we've covered here, we spoke about how thoughts shape character, which in turn, how thoughts shape circumstance. We spoke about the link between our thoughts and how they affect our health and our body. We've spoken through the power of purpose and how thoughts plus purpose can supercharge these thoughts and lead to the path of success, especially when our purpose is noble and considers the whole. We've covered visions and ideals, and we've spoken about the highly evolved state of serenity, which is the fruit of controlled thoughts. Now let's end with this quote, a personal favourite. As you think, so you are. As you are, so you act. As you act, so you attain. If you enjoyed this video and watched to the end, then thank you so much, you're a true legend. Now, it would be amazing if you could smash that like button, as it really does help with the YouTube algorithm, and it means I can keep making these videos to share more wisdom with more people at an even faster rate. If you'd like to read the book or even recommend it to someone else, then there's an affiliate link down below where you can purchase. Please also comment down below and let us know what book you'd like to see us summarize next. Happy reading and take care.